Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another live stream. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. In this video, we will be talking about a secondary build 2 of 2, in this case, of the tanking Stalker in WildStar. First off, as the tanking Stalker, you have three stances as a Stalker in general, but as a tanking Stalker, you want to go with the evasive stance. And the reason for this is it increases your deflect chance by a certain percent. It also increases your magic resistance, your tech resistance, and your physical resistance by a certain percent. So naturally you'd be using that stance. Now the first ability is called Whiplash. I kept that the same. It's your basic attack. Does damage twice to 5 foes and generates 25% threat. Won't talk too much about it because I did a good description of it in the last video. The next build, or ability, that the Tank and Stalker has is Nano Field. I kept this on my bar, and I explained it already. It's a very long tooltip, so I won't talk too much. I don't want a very long video, but basically it does damage over time, and that damage, a percent of it, gets returned to yourself as health, just like having life steal. Okay, it's a multi-tap ability. First step does a dot and restores a certain percent of that damage as health to you, and then the second press is more of a burst damage, and it also burst heals you as well. So pretty sweet ability. Could not find a reason to take it off my bars. That's such a big tooltip, I gotta scroll down. Anyway, the next ability I chose was, again, Frenzy. It's just too good of a threat builder for me to not have it on my bar. But it deals damage up to 5 foes every 0.5 seconds for 2 seconds. It has a stealth bonus, just like Nanofield did. In this case, it applies an absorb for 5 seconds, and that's pretty sweet. It's something that's hard to land, somewhat of a hard telegraph to land, because it's narrow in your melee. But anyway, the next ability is Decimate. It's an on-proc ability. When you deflect an attack, this ability becomes available to you. And it applies a weaken up to 5 foes. Weaken is it reduces the damage dealt to you by 18% for 10 seconds. So again, I had no reason, in my opinion, to take a different ability. Okay. The cool new ability that I did some research on, and it's pretty sweet, is Razor Storm. Razor Storm is another version of a taunt, and what it does is it deals technology damage 3 times, and to 10 foes grants an Intimidate. Match the top, which is match the top of an NPC's threat list for 10 seconds. To me, this is like a have-to-have ability if you're gonna raid. Simply because it's a stronger taunt than Reaver, okay, which I took in my last build. So anyway, next ability is Steadfast. Steadfast is, it kind of reminds me of those of you who played World of Warcraft and you specifically played the Rogue. You had I think it was a dodge. I want to say that was the name of the ability. But it gave you a certain percent chance to deflect attacks. In this case, in WildStar, Steadfast, it does give you a percent chance to deflect attacks against you, but by deflecting those attacks, you restore suit power. So the idea is that by using this ability, I can get more frenzies off, which is a huge suit power um, consumer, and build more threat. So that's the idea behind me going with Steadfast. Next, we have Stagger. Stagger, again, is your best, most reliable CC. Um, and the next ability I chose was Collapse. I, again, chose this ability. It's, to me, too strong of ability not to have on your bar. However, um, to give you options, you of course could go False Retreat, which is a multi-tap ability where whichever direction you're facing, you jump back a certain amount of meters. Let me scroll back up to get the tooltip. But you jump backwards 15 meters, basically. And then when you hit it again, you leap back to your original position and knock down 5 foes. Destroys all interrupt armor. So it's another version of CC. It's a little harder to land sometimes if you're not good at, uh, you know, I guess spamming the ability quickly enough. Because I've seen it used in such situations where you use it to jump out of a boss's telegraph, and then you wait a couple seconds and you hit it again to interrupt or get back in position. So, that gives you options. Reaver is another taunt. We took it in our last build. It's not a bad thing. It's I find it very hard to land, however. Um, but it's the only available um, ability that we have that's a taunt early on. Because Razor Storm, in my support trio here that I took, it doesn't say here, but it takes a while. You have to be a certain level to unlock that ability. So anyway, that gives you options. Another option would be Pounce. It's a movement ability. Certain raid bosses require you, based off their mechanics, to have this. So take it if you need it. Tether Mine, I talked about it before, is a more or less a PvP ability. I wouldn't take it in PvE. Tactical Retreat I would never take, because as a tank, you do not want to drop threat. You want to be building threat. Bloodthirst, I debated with this ability a little bit, I'll be honest. I'm still, I guess, PvP oriented in my mind, because that's what we were doing a lot of lately in beta weekends. Where this is just an awesome ability, the ability to allow 4 other party members and you 50% lifesteal is pretty sweet. However, if I'm sacrificing a lot of my amps, because you have to go far down the utility tree, pretty far, in order to unlock it. In my opinion, it's kind of difficult to get to, and I don't want to sacrifice other amps that might be more useful as a tank. This is more of a utility ability. Okay, so that's my reasoning. I could see where preparation would be useful, as well, because it allows you to increase deflect chance. Increasing deflect chance, even though it's a channel, allows you to have more decimates. However, what are you doing during that 3-second channel? I mean, obviously you can't pop this at the beginning of the fight, I don't think, unless you're leading up to the mob that you're going to pull. So it does have its uses in PvE. Okay, I don't want to downgrade the ability because it's very useful. It offers static stat increases, and when it's as important of a stat increase as deflect chance is, as for the Stalker, it's we just don't have enough slots. You know what I mean? To put this in, and other abilities take more precedence. Stim Drone, also not a bad ability for a tank. It restores health, and it has 2 ability charges, which what they do is, yes, you do restore health, but it grants boost to yourself. Boost is it increases your maximum health for 10 seconds. So, it does have its uses where I could see it being a cooldown that you would use to help your healer out temporarily, to top you off, so you don't die, because it's very important that you stay alive as the tank. Um, but that covers the abilities. I won't talk too much about tiers. I want to talk a little bit more about why I didn't choose these abilities, okay? Now, naturally, I did go with Amplification Spike in my last ability, because it is a nice ability to have. But I wanted to do something different. So that's what I was doing with this ability, okay? But the first ability I didn't take was Razor Disc, and I wish I kind of would have maybe suggested this in my DPS build as an alternative. Um, but this is a tanking ability. The technology damage that it does is based off your support power, not your assault power. Um, so yes, it does base damage plus a certain percent of your support power. But the reason I would take this is we have no real way of range pulling mobs. Okay, so this gives it to us. This gives us the chance um, to range pull. Okay, so that's where I could see it being useful. Um, the plus of it is that it reduces armor by 10% for 6 seconds. Although that's a bonus, I don't consider that a huge deal, because 10% of armor, how much is that? 10% of, say, a boss that has 6,000 armor is only 600 armor. So is that really going to increase your DPS, of your group that much? Eh, that's not really why I would take it as a tanking stalker. Next one is Nanovirus. This is a very hard ability to land, and it's the reason I don't take it. Um, it does take suit power, just like Razor Disc did. Um, what it does is it does damage to one foe and implies a weaken. Weaken is it reduces critical hit severity by 6% for 10 seconds, stacks 2 times. So, my opinion, or my reasoning for not taking this ability is because, well, I have several reasons, but the first one is it's hard to land. Okay. The second reason is crit hit severity. Yes, it is a weakness of the Stalker because they do are vulnerable to burst damage. Um, so I could see maybe on a boss fight or two taking this. But 12% crit hit severity of that boss, I don't believe is a huge deal to me, and so that's why I don't take it. That's just my opinion. Nano Dart. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, because I only got to about level 25 ish, 26. I didn't have access to this ability, so I couldn't really talk about it. But basically, what it does is it's an instant cast, 10 suit power, 8-second recharge, 2 charges. It deals technology damage to one foe and siphon a certain percentage of that damage back as health. So again, this is a ability that would be useful, providing you could land it, for mitigation purposes, helping out your healer a little bit by restoring a little bit more health to yourself. I don't know how hard the telegraph is to land, um, so I didn't take it. I didn't take it. The basic consensus based off the forums is that these two need to be redone. Nanovirus, Nanovirus, and Nanodart need to be redone a little bit. Um, so there's variations in the build, a little bit more variation of what you can choose, based off the situation that you're coming up against. So you know that's basically explaining all the abilities. available for the tanking Stalker. Amps, I did some changes. I won't talk too much about them, but basically, FYI for people new to the amp system, uh, the amps are static stat increases, or they could be when I do a certain ability, I get certain buffs. Um, or maybe my health drops. That's why, yeah, like when my health drops, that's another advantage of the amps. I receive invulnerability, So the amps are another way to customize your playstyle with your class. So anyway, and I guess I should explain this too. From level 6 to level 50, if you haven't seen my other videos, you get 1 amp per level, up to 45 amps. Okay, and at that point, in order to get 55 instead of 45 amp points, you have to get something called Elder Gems, and you have to get a pretty good amount of these via daily questing at level 50 in those areas in order to buy those remaining 10 amp points. Okay, so real quick, I didn't change anything, I don't think, at all in Tier 1 on any of the trees and the amps. Um, I don't think I changed any of these amps. Um, I took amplification spike out. I got to looking at these two abilities, and I'm telling you, it's tough to choose between the two. I chose this one because in the event that I do almost die, I can stay alive. Okay? Over this one, where if I'm above 70% health, I reduce damage taken by 10%. And I got to thinking about it after the last video. There's very few chances that I can remember being above 70% health. Because, you are vulnerable as the Stalker. So, moving on, I didn't change anything about this tree. I got the same amps. The only thing I changed was I got to thinking after my last video that these wouldn't be bad to invest in. So when I dropped amplification spike, and that's all you got, I picked up balanced, where I could no longer be dazed. And my reasoning for that is because there were situations where I would be an idiot and be sprinting and get attacked when I was trying to line of sight enemies um, in order to get them in range of my melee, to do thread and make it easier on my group to position them. So I took this amp. You could take different things, okay? This is not set in stone. You have to do this, or you're not going to be a good tank. No, not at all. Quite contrary. If you choose to go a different direction, by all means, go it. That's what's so cool about WildStar. The other amp was Can't Stop This, MC Hammer Time. Dashing has a 25% chance to refund 25% of a dash charge. So again, my reasoning behind this was that any opportunity I have to be more mobile, to get dash charges, to get out of bosses' telegraphs or enemies' telegraphs, I'm going to take it. And it synergizes well with these dash region amps that I took. And I think the thing I did differently was I put the remaining amps into CC resilience, because I got to thinking, I was like, you know what, if I'm stunned, I'm not able to build threat as a tank, so maybe that's not a bad idea to take these. So that covers this build for the tanking Stalker in WildStar. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next time. We will be picking up a new class. I don't know which one I'm going to do. It'll be a surprise. So, if you like what you saw, like me on Facebook. Or, God, Facebook. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Rather, do like me on YouTube if you like the video. Or, if you're a Twitch user, follow me. That way you get surprised as to what the next video is. Anyway, this is Luke from Guild Umbra, signing off. Y'all have a great day.